My name is Marin Holloway. I'm 29 years old. When I was 21, my mother stood up at my brother's wedding reception in front of 200 guests at the Fairmont Chateau Laurier in Ottawa and said into a microphone, "We always knew Tyler would make us proud. As for our daughter, well, let's just say some children are born to shine and some are born to watch." The room laughed. My brother laughed. His bride laughed. I sat at table 14, the one closest to the kitchen, and I felt my entire childhood collapse into a single sentence. I put down my fork, picked up my coat, and walked out into the November cold. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't go back. Not for 8 years. Then, last fall, my father called from a number I didn't recognize. His voice was shaking. "Marin, it's Dad. Please don't hang up. Your brother, he's lost everything. The house, the practice, Claire. He won't talk to us. He won't eat. We found him last Tuesday in his condo with the blinds drawn and bottles everywhere. We need you. You're the only one he might listen to." I almost laughed. The daughter who was born to watch. The one who wasn't worth a toast. And now I was the only one who could save their golden boy. Here's what happened next. But first, let me take you back. The Holloway family. 118 Rideau Terrace, Rockcliffe Park, Ottawa. Red brick, white trim, a garden my mother maintained like it was her third child. My father, a senior partner at a Bay Street law firm's Ottawa office. My mother, a school board trustee who never missed a community event. 2 children, Tyler, born 1993. Me, born 1996. 3 years apart. A universe of difference. Tyler played rep hockey for the Ottawa Junior 67's feeder program. My father drove him to practice at 5:30 every morning, never missed a game, kept a scrapbook of every newspaper clipping. I played clarinet in the school band. My mother came to 1 concert in 4 years, and she left at intermission because Tyler had a tournament the next morning, and she needed to pack his equipment bag. Our bedrooms told you everything. Tyler's room was on the 2nd floor, 18 by 16 feet, south-facing windows, overlooking the garden. Queen bed, pottery barn desk, a flat-screen TV mounted on the wall in grade 10. Hockey trophies on custom-built shelves. My room was the converted attic. Sloped ceilings so low, I couldn't stand up straight near the walls. 10 by 11 feet. Twin bed from when I was 7. A desk my father picked up from a Value Village for $15, 1 window the size of a textbook that looked onto the roof. In grade 9, I asked my mother if I could move into the guest room on the 2nd floor. It was sitting empty. Nobody used it. She looked at me like I'd asked for a car. "That's for guests. Marin, your room is fine." I counted how many guests stayed in that room over the next 3 years. 0. It sat empty while I climbed a narrow staircase every night to a room that smelled like dust and old insulation. Tyler got into Western for pre-med. My parents threw a party. 40 people in the backyard. Catered by a restaurant on Elgin Street. My father gave a speech. My mother cried happy tears. The bill was $2,800. I found the receipt in the recycling. 2 years later, I got into the University of Ottawa. Same city, I told them at dinner. "I got accepted to U Ottawa," I said. "Sciences." My mother was cutting a roast. "Oh, that's nice, Marin. Can you grab the salad from the fridge?" My father nodded without looking up from his phone. "Good school. Close to home, so you can save on rent." There was no party. No catered dinner. No speech. I told my cousin Shayla that night on the phone. "They didn't even say congratulations properly," I said. "They said it was close to home." Shayla was quiet for a moment. "I'm proud of you, Mare. For what it's worth. It was worth everything." She was the only family member who ever said it. The dinner table was the worst part. Every Sunday, 6 p.m., the 4 of us in the dining room. Tyler to my father's right. Me across from my mother, near the kitchen doorway, so I could clear the plates. It wasn't assigned seating. It was trained behavior, I knew my place. Tyler, tell us about your residency applications, my father would say, pouring wine. Tyler would talk for 20 minutes. His grades, his professors, his research, his plans. My parents leaned in, like he was performing Shakespeare. Then the pause. The obligatory glance in my direction. And you, Marin? How's school? Good. I'm doing a research placement in Dr. Thiessen's immunology lab. That's nice. Back to Tyler. I kept a count in my journal. How many times they asked Tyler a follow-up question at dinner versus how many times they asked me. Over 3 years, I counted 312 follow-up questions for Tyler, 41 for me, and 17 of mine were about whether I could pick something up from the grocery store on my way home. The financial gap was the part that still makes my jaw tighten. Tyler's education. Fully funded. Tuition, residence, meal plan, textbook allowance, spending money. My parents covered everything through his undergrad, his master's, his medical school at U of T. Total cost, roughly $180,000, over 8 years. I got $4,000 a year for 2 years. Then my father sat me down before my 3rd year. We've been reviewing the family budget, he said. With Tyler's medical school, things are tight. You understand. I understood. I took out OSAP, $38,000 by the time I graduated. Tyler graduated debt-free. I worked 2 jobs through university. Tim Hortons, Monday through Thursday, 6 a.m. to noon, $14.50 an hour. Research assistant in the immunology lab, 15 hours a week, $17 an hour. I ate ramen and frozen President's Choice meals. I bought textbooks used or found PDFs online. I owned 5 outfits and rotated them. I skipped meals 3 or 4 times a week to stretch my budget. By 4th year, I weighed 112 pounds on a 5'7" frame. My supervisor, Dr. Thiessen, pulled me aside one afternoon. Marin, are you eating enough? You look thin. I'm fine. You're in the lab more than my grad students. I'm worried about you. I just like staying busy. I wasn't busy. I was surviving. But I couldn't say that, because saying it would mean admitting what my family was, and I wasn't ready for that. November 17th, 2017. The day everything broke, Tyler was getting married. Claire Fontaine, a dermatologist he'd met during residency. Beautiful, polished, from a wealthy Westmount family. The wedding was at the Fairmont Chateau Laurier. 200 guests, 6-course dinner, open bar. The whole production cost north of $80,000. My parents paid for most of it. My mother called me 6 weeks before the wedding. Marin, we need to discuss your role. I assumed I'd be in the wedding party. I was his only sister. We've decided to keep the bridal party small. Claire's sisters and Tyler's university friends. But we'd love for you to do a reading during the ceremony. A reading. Not a bridesmaid. Not a maid of honor. A reading. Like a guest they'd pulled off the street. What reading? I asked. Something from Corinthians. Claire's mother chose it. Fine. I bought a dress from a consignment shop in the Byward Market. Navy blue. $45. I did my own hair and makeup. No one offered to help. No one asked how I looked. The ceremony was at 4 p.m. I did my reading. My voice didn't shake. I looked at Tyler as I read. He smiled at me. That one smile was the only acknowledgement I got all day. The reception started at 6. Table assignments were on a board near the entrance. I scanned the list. Table 1. Tyler, Claire, the parents. Tables 2 through 6. Bridal party, close friends. I found my name. Table 14. I walked across the ballroom. Table 14 was against the back wall, next to the kitchen doors. Every time a server came through, the door swung open, and a blast of noise and heat hit me. I was seated between my father's colleague's wife, who talked about her dog for 45 minutes, and an empty chair. The person assigned to it never showed up. From my seat, I could see the head table, my parents, beaming, Tyler and Claire, glowing. Everyone I was supposed to belong to, gathered in a circle of light, and me in the back, next to the kitchen, watching. The speeches started at 8:30. Tyler's best man. Claire's maid of honor. Claire's father. Then my mother stood up. She took the microphone. She was wearing a cream-colored dress, her hair freshly done. She looked beautiful and confident, and completely unaware of what she was about to do to me. When Tyler was born, she began, I knew he was special. From the very first moment, he was the kind of child who lit up every room he walked into. She talked for 3 minutes about Tyler. His achievements, his kindness, his brilliance. The room was rapt. Then she paused. She looked at my father. They exchanged a smile. The kind of smile people share when they're about to deliver a punchline. We always knew Tyler would make us proud, she said. As for our daughter, well. She let it hang. 2 seconds of silence. Let's just say some children are born to shine, and some are born to watch. The room erupted. 200 people laughing. Some clapped. My father raised his glass, grinning. Tyler shook his head, smiling. The way you do when someone says something outrageous but you're in on the joke. I sat at table 14 with my hands in my lap. My vision blurred. My ears filled with a sound like static. The laughter lasted maybe 6 seconds. It felt like it lasted my entire life. My mother handed the microphone back, still smiling, still basking. She never looked at me. Not once. I stood up. I didn't make a scene. I picked up my coat from the back of my chair, put it on, and walked toward the exit. I passed 12 tables. No one stopped me. No one noticed. I made it to the lobby before I heard heels clicking behind me. Marin. My mother's voice. Irritated, not concerned. I turned. She was walking toward me, my father a few steps behind. Tyler and Claire weren't there. They were still at the head table, accepting congratulations. Where are you going? She said. We haven't even cut the cake. You just told 200 people I'm worthless. My father sighed. Actually sighed. That's not what she said. It was a toast. People make jokes at weddings. A joke. You're being oversensitive, Marin. As usual. My mother crossed her arms. This is Tyler's night. Can you not make it about yourself for once? I stared at her. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab her by the shoulders and shake her until she understood. But I didn't. Because I'd spent 21 years being trained not to make a scene, not to take up space, not to need anything. I'm leaving, I said. Oh, for heaven's sake. My father checked his watch. The car's not coming until midnight. How are you getting home? I'll figure it out. I turned and walked out the front entrance of the Chateau Laurier into November in Ottawa. It was -8. I was wearing a dress and a wool coat. I didn't have gloves. I walked to the Rideau Center and sat on a bench inside until I stopped shaking. Then I called an Uber. $23 to my apartment near campus. I sat on my bed. I didn't cry. Not yet. I was too numb. At 10:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. Shayla, Mare, are you okay? I just heard what your mom said. That was horrible. She'd heard from another cousin who was there. She wasn't invited to the wedding either. We were both on the outside. I didn't respond. I was too busy making a decision. I opened my contacts. I blocked my mother first. Her cell, her email, then my father, then Tyler. Each one felt like pulling out a splinter. Painful but necessary. I left the family group chat on WhatsApp. I deactivated Facebook. I changed my Instagram to private. 7 contacts blocked. 12 minutes. I kept Shayla. Only Shayla. That night I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, and I made myself a promise. I would never sit at table 14 again. Not at their table. Not in their house. Not in their life. I would build something so solid, so mine, that their absence would feel like a relief, not a loss. I didn't know it would take 8 years, or that I'd have to start with $1,100 in my checking account and a studio apartment I could barely afford. But I did it anyway. December 2017 through April 2018, I finished my degree. I worked every shift Tim Hortons would give me. I ate free leftover Timbits and soup after closing. I applied to 34 jobs. I got 3 interviews. 1 offer. Lab technician at CHEO, the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario. $44,000 a year. I started in June 2018. My first real paycheck after deductions. $2,340. I sat in my car in the CHEO parking lot and cried for 15 minutes. Not because I was sad, because I'd done it alone. Soma totusine a eten. I moved to a 1-bedroom apartment in Centertown. 480 square feet. $1,250 a month. I furnished it from IKEA and Kijiji. Total budget, $900. The couch was $60 and smelled faintly of someone else's life, but it was mine. I started therapy in September 2018. Dr. Anwar, a psychologist on Metcalf Street. $180 a session, but my insurance from CHEO covered $1,500 a year. I went twice a month. First session. What brings you in, Marin? I don't know how to stop hearing my mother's voice in my head. What does she say? That I was born to watch. And what do you believe? I couldn't answer. That was the problem. Part of me believed her. The years passed. I'll spare you the montage, but here's what you need to know. 2019. I was promoted to senior lab technician. $52,000. I paid my OSAP down to $29,000. I made friends at the hospital. Priya from the microbiology lab, who brought me homemade doll when I worked late. Jordan from respiratory therapy, who dragged me to trivia nights at the Heart and Crown on Tuesdays. I started running. Not because I enjoyed it, but because it was the only time my brain went quiet. I ran my first 10K in October. Finished in 54 minutes. Nobody was at the finish line waiting for me, but I didn't need them to be. 2020. COVID hit. The hospital became a war zone. I worked 6 0-hour weeks. I was terrified and exhausted, and somehow more alive than I'd ever been. I mattered here. My work mattered. Dr. Pham, the head of the infectious disease lab, pulled me aside during a particularly brutal week. Marin, your work on the PCR validation has been exceptional. Have you considered graduate school? I hadn't. But the seed was planted. 2021. I applied to the master's program in immunology at U Ottawa. I got in with a full scholarship and a research stipend. $21,000 a year, on top of my savings. I kept working part-time at CHEO. 2022. I published my first co-authored paper. T-cell response variability in pediatric COVID-19 patients. My supervisor, Dr. Bott, put my name second. You did the heavy lifting on this, Marin. You deserve the credit. Nobody had ever said that to me before, not in my family. 2023. I finished my master's. I was offered a research coordinator position at the Ottawa Hospital. $71,000 a year. Benefits. Pension. I moved to a proper 1-bedroom in the Glebe. 680 square feet. Hardwood floors. A balcony that looked over a row of maple trees. $1,850 a month, but I could afford it. I bought a real couch, a real bed, bookshelves that didn't lean. I paid off my OSAP entirely in March 2023, $38,000, gone. I celebrated by buying a $7 latte from Bridgehead and sitting on a bench by the Rideau Canal and watching the skaters. I felt rich. I wasn't, but I felt like it. 2024. I started dating again. Nothing serious. A few dinners, a few walks along the canal. One guy, Marcus, 31, an urban planner. We dated for 4 months. He told me over Fa on Somerset, "You're incredible, Marin, but there's a part of you I can't reach. Like you've already decided you're going to lose me." He wasn't wrong. We ended things in August. Amicable. I wasn't ready. By September 2025, I was 29 years old. Stable job, good apartment, real friends. Therapy once a month now. Maintenance mode. I ran a half marathon. Finished in 1:58. Priya was at the finish line with a sign that said, "Go Mare" in sparkly letters. I'd built a life. A real one. And most days, I didn't think about my family at all. Most days. Then my phone rang. October 3rd, 2025. 9:12 p.m. I was in my apartment making tea. Earl Grey, the way I always make it, too strong, with oat milk. My phone was on the counter, unknown number, 613 area code. Ottawa. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something instinct, maybe, or dread made me pick up. Hello? Silence. Then a voice I hadn't heard in 7 years, 11 months, and 16 days. Marin. It's your father. My hand tightened around the mug. I didn't speak. "Please don't hang up," he said. His voice was different. Smaller. The confident, dismissive tone was gone. He sounded old. "How did you get this number?" "Shayla. She. Ibigil here." I know she promised not to, but this is Marin. This is serious. I made a mental note to talk to Shayla about boundaries. "What do you want?" "It's about Tyler." Of course it was. Everything was always about Tyler. He's in trouble. Real trouble. He's lost the practice. Claire left him. She took the kids to her parents' house in Westmount. He won't talk to us. He won't answer the door. Last week your mother went to his condo, and she could hear him through the door, just. He stopped. I could hear him breathing. Just what? Crying. Screaming. She found bottles in the recycling room. Vodka. Whiskey. A lot. I said nothing. We think he's been drinking since before Claire left. Maybe a year. Maybe longer. He was hiding it. You know how Tyler is. Everything looks perfect on the outside until it doesn't. Yes. And you're calling me. He won't talk to us. He won't see a doctor. He won't go to meetings. We've tried everything. But Shayla said she said, maybe he'd listen to you. I laughed. I didn't mean to. It just came out. Listen to me. The daughter who was born to watch. Why would he listen to me? Marin, you told 200 people I was worthless, Dad. At his wedding. And now you want me to save him? Silence. 14 seconds. I know we've made mistakes. Mistakes. Will you help or not? 3 minutes into the call. My tea had gone cold. My father was asking, not apologizing, asking me to clean up another mess. Asking me to be useful, finally, now that they had no other option. I need to think about it. I hung up. I stood in my kitchen for a long time. Then I called Shayla. She answered on the second ring. He called you, she said. Not a question. You gave him my number. Mare, I'm sorry. I know I promised. But it's bad. Tyler is really, really bad. I went to see him 2 weeks ago. He looks like a different person. He's lost maybe 30 pounds. His condo is... I've never seen anything like it. That's not your call to make, Shay. You promised. I know, and I'm sorry. But I couldn't live with myself if something happened and I hadn't tried. I was quiet for a long time. What exactly is going on? He started drinking after Claire found out he'd been let go from the clinic. He wasn't fired exactly. He was asked to take a leave of absence. Malpractice concerns. Something about prescribing errors. I don't know the details. But once Claire found out, she took the kids and moved back to Montreal. That was April. Since then, he's been spiraling. And Mom and Dad? They've been trying. But you know how they are. They show up and start telling him what to do, how to fix it, how to get Claire back. They're not listening to him. They're managing him, like a project, like they managed him his whole life. Exactly. I sat with it for 2 days. October 5th. Emergency session with Dr. Anwar. What do you owe them? She asked. Nothing. Then why are you considering going? Because maybe this isn't about them. Maybe it's about me. How so? If I can go back to that family and not fall apart. If I can be in a room with my parents and still know who I am, then I'm really healed. Not just surviving. Healed. And what about Tyler? Tyler never defended me. Not once. At the wedding, he smiled when she said it. He laughed. He was 24. The golden child. What do you think would have happened if he'd spoken up? I hadn't considered that. They would have turned on him too. So maybe he was surviving the same system. Different cage. Same lock. I cried in that session. The ugly kind. Snot and shaking and sounds I didn't know I could make. But when I left, something had shifted. I wasn't going for them. I was going for me. And maybe, just maybe, for the brother I never got to know, because our parents made us into competitors instead of siblings. October 8th. I texted my father. I'll come see Tyler. Saturday at noon. But I have conditions. You and Mom will not be there. You will give me his address and stay away. This is between me and him. If you show up, I leave, and you never hear from me again. His reply came in 40 seconds. Thank you. His address is 402 to 180 George Street. The code to the building is 4471. We'll stay away. Thank you, Marin. I packed nothing. I wasn't staying. Saturday, October 11th. I drove to Tyler's condo in the Byward Market, 3.2 kilometers from my apartment. I could have walked. I drove because I wanted the option of leaving fast. The building was a glass tower, the kind of place young professionals live when they want to feel like they've made it. Tyler's unit was on the 4th floor. I used the code, took the elevator, stood in front of 402. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again. Tyler! It's Marin. Silence. Then a voice, hoarse, barely recognizable. Go away. I'm not Mom and Dad. It's me. A long pause. Marin? Yeah. What are you doing here? I came to talk. I don't want to talk. I drove all the way from the glebe. You owe me a conversation. I heard something that might have been a laugh or a cough. Footsteps. The lock turned. The door opened. He looked like a stranger. Tyler, who'd always been broad-shouldered and clean-cut. The guy who ironed his scrubs. He was standing in a stained t-shirt and boxers. His face was gaunt, stubbled, gray. His eyes were bloodshot and hollow. The condo behind him was destroyed. Curtains drawn, bottles on every surface. Takeout containers, some with food still in them, growing things. The smell hit me. Stale alcohol, unwashed clothes, rotting food, despair. This was Tyler, the golden child. The one who lit up every room, the doctor, the hockey player, the son who made them proud. Now standing in his doorway, looking like he hadn't slept or showered in weeks. I didn't say anything about how he looked. I walked past him into the condo. I sat on the floor. Not the couch, because the couch was covered in clothes and bottles. The floor. He watched me. Then he sat down too. We were quiet for a long time. They sent you, he said. Dad called. I chose to come. There's a difference. Why? I don't know yet. More silence. Then Tyler started talking. Not about the drinking. Not about Claire. About us. Do you remember the science fair? He asked. Grade 8? You built that project on water filtration. It was brilliant. You tested water from the Rideau River at 5 different points and measured contamination levels. You worked on it for 2 months. I remember. You won 2nd place. I remember that too. I won 1st. My project on hockey stick blade angles and puck velocity. He paused. Dad built half of it. I didn't even understand the physics. He stayed up until 2 a.m. the night before, redoing my graphs. And when I won, he lifted me onto his shoulders in the gym. I remember. Your project was better. Everyone knew it. Mrs. Castellano told Mom that your methodology was university level. Mom never told you that. No. She didn't. I knew, he said. I always knew they treated you differently. I just didn't say anything, because if I did, they might start treating me the same way. I was a coward. You were a kid. I was a coward at the wedding too. Mom said what she said, and I laughed. I saw you walk out, and I didn't follow you. I didn't even text you the next day. I told myself you'd get over it. I didn't get over it. I know. His voice broke. I'm sorry, Marin. I'm so sorry. I never stood up for you. I was so terrified of losing my spot. Being the favorite, it wasn't a gift. It was a performance. Every single day, I had to be perfect. Perfect grades, perfect career, perfect wife, perfect house. And when I couldn't keep it up anymore, when I started making mistakes at work, when Claire found out, when it all fell apart, I didn't know how to ask for help, because I'd never been allowed to fail. So you drank, so I drank. Because when I'm drunk, I don't hear Dad's voice telling me I have to be the best. I don't see Mom's face when I disappoint her. I just feel nothing. And nothing felt better than everything. I understood that. More than he knew. When did it start? After the malpractice complaint. March 2024. A patient's family filed a complaint about a prescribing error. It was minor. A dosage miscalculation. No one was hurt. But the College of Physicians launched a review. My clinic suggested I take a leave. I told Claire I was taking time off for mental health. I told Mom and Dad I was transitioning to a new practice. I lied to everyone. And then? I sat in this condo alone and I drank. First wine. Then vodka. Then whatever I could get. By the time Claire found out, I was going through a 26 of Smirnoff every 2 days. Tyler. I know. Have you seen a doctor? No. Have you looked into treatment? I Googled it once. Then I closed the laptop and poured another drink. I looked around the condo. At the bottles. At the takeout containers. At the curtains blocking out the daylight. And I saw it clearly. This was the other side of the same coin. I'd been neglected. He'd been crushed under expectations. Both of us broken by the same people in different ways. I'm going to help you find a treatment program, I said. But I need you to understand something first. What? I'm not doing this for Mom and Dad. I'm not doing this because they asked me. I'm doing this because 8 years ago, you were my brother, and I lost you, and I'd like to see if I can get you back. But it's going to be different this time. You and me, not them. He nodded. Okay. And Tyler? You need to know this isn't going to be easy. Treatment is hard. Getting sober is hard. And I'm not going to pretend everything is fine between us, just because you're struggling. We have things to deal with. The wedding. The silence. All of it. I know. But we'll deal with it. After you're sober. He cried then. Quiet at first, then harder. I didn't reach for him. I wasn't ready for that. But I stayed. I stayed on that dirty floor, in that dark condo for 3 hours. We talked about childhood. About the science fair. About dinners at 6 p.m., where he got the spotlight and I got the leftovers. About the time I won a university research award and nobody in our family knew. About the time he failed an exam in second-year organic chemistry and our father didn't speak to him for a week. Different cages. Same prison. Before I left, Tyler said something that stopped me at the door. Marin, I tried to find you. In 2021. I asked Mom for your number. She said you'd changed it and didn't want to be contacted. I never changed my number. We looked at each other. She lied, he said. She kept us apart, I said. Even when you were drowning. I drove home and sat in my car for 20 minutes. Then I went inside, opened my laptop, and started researching. I spent 3 days on it, 14 hours total. I looked at 12 facilities across Ontario and Quebec. I narrowed it to 3. Criteria: evidence-based treatment, medical detox, individual and group counseling, minimum 90 days residential, OHIP, covered where possible with private top-up. I chose Renascent in Toronto, one of the top addiction treatment centers in the country. 90-day residential program. The base was covered through OHIP and Tyler's benefits, but the private room and enhanced programming would cost an additional $14,000. I called. Spoke to the intake coordinator, a woman named Helen. When can he come in? We have a bed available October 22nd. Can he be here? He'll be there. I called Tyler. He answered on the first ring. Did you find something? Renascent. Toronto. 90 days. October 22nd. He was quiet. Okay, he said. Okay. Then I called my father. Tyler is going to treatment. October 22nd. You and Mom are paying the $14,000 that insurance doesn't cover. Of course. Anything. You're not choosing the facility. I already have. You're not visiting unless he asks. You're not calling the center for updates. You're writing the check and stepping back. Marin, we're his parents. You're the people who built him into something that couldn't bend without breaking. Sonno. You don't get to manage his recovery like you managed his life. Silence. And one more thing, I said. Mom told Tyler I changed my number, in 2021, that I didn't want to hear from him. That was a lie. She kept us apart on purpose. My father's voice was barely audible. I didn't know. You didn't ask. I hung up. October 22nd. I drove Tyler to Toronto, 4 hours and 23 minutes, Highway 7 to the 401. We stopped at an en route near Kingston for coffee. He ordered a double-double. Old habits. We were quiet for the first hour. Then Tyler asked, "Can I ask you something?" Yeah. Do you hate me? I thought about it honestly. I did. For a long time. But no. Not anymore. Why not? I deserve it. Because I realized we were both their victims. Your cage was pressure. Mine was neglect. Both of us were suffocating. We just couldn't see each other through the bars. He stared out the window. Trees blurred past. October in Ontario, the maples going gold and red, the kind of beauty that feels unfair when everything else hurts. After this, he said. After treatment. Do you think we could try being family again? I don't know. Maybe. But not the way it was. We'd have to build something new. New is fine. New is better than nothing. We arrived at Renascent at 2:15 p.m. Clean facility, professional, warm. Helen greeted us. I stayed for 2 hours. Paperwork, medical history, insurance forms. When it was time to go, Tyler hugged me. First real hug in 8 years. Awkward and tight and real. Thank you for not giving up on me, he said. You're doing this for you. I just showed up. He walked in. Looked back once. I waved. He waved back. The door closed. I sat in my car in the parking lot and cried. Not because I was sad. Because I'd done something I never thought I'd be able to do. I'd helped the person who hurt me, and it didn't destroy me. It made me more certain of who I am. November through January, Tyler was in treatment. I got weekly updates. He'd signed a release allowing the center to share information with me. We had virtual family therapy sessions. Wednesdays, at 7 p.m., Tyler and me, not our parents. We talked about everything. The favoritism. The competition they built between us. The wedding. That toast. The years of silence. Week 4, the therapist asked Tyler, "What do you want Marin to understand?" That being the golden child wasn't gold. It was a leash. Every time I succeeded, they tightened it. Every time I stumbled, they panicked. I wasn't their son, I was their project. Marin, what do you want Tyler to understand? That being invisible, doesn't hurt less than being watched. It just hurts quieter. He was on display. I didn't exist. Both of us were alone in that house. Tyler looked at me through the screen. I never knew you felt invisible. You always seemed so independent, like you didn't need anyone. I didn't seem independent, Tyler. I was abandoned. Those aren't the same thing. We both cried. The therapist called it progress. January 18th, 2026. Tyler completed the program. I drove back to Toronto to pick him up. He looked different, healthier, clean-shaven. He'd gained back 15 pounds. His eyes were clear. He hugged me and held on for a long time. Thank you. You did this. I just drove. He moved into a sober living house in Ottawa. $1,100 a month. Our parents paid. He started outpatient therapy twice a week, joined AA, got a part-time job as a clinic administrator, no patient contact yet, but a foot in the door. Low pressure. I visited every other week. We had coffee. We talked carefully, slowly, like people learning a new language. We weren't close yet, but we were trying. Our parents asked to visit in December. Tyler said no. In February, he agreed. Supervised visits, his therapist present. Once a month. Tyler set boundaries with them. I kept mine. I hadn't spoken to my parents directly since that phone call in October. I didn't plan to. March 2026. Tyler texted me. 5 months sober today. I texted back. That's not small. That's everything. Proud of you. Couldn't have done it without you. I paused, then typed. Yes, you could have. You're stronger than you think. He sent back a thumbs up emoji. It was enough. My mother sent me a letter last month. Handwritten. I recognized her handwriting on the envelope. I put it in a drawer, unopened. Maybe I'll read it someday. Maybe I won't. My father called on my birthday, in January. I let it go to voicemail. He said, "Happy birthday, Marin. I hope you're well. I'm sorry, for all of it." 6 seconds of silence after that. Then he hung up. It was the first time he'd ever said the word sorry to me. I saved the voicemail. I haven't listened to it again, but I saved it. People ask me if I regret going back. If I regret helping the family that broke me. The answer is no. Because I didn't go back for them. I went back for Tyler. And for myself. I needed to know I could stand in that city, in that family's orbit, and not collapse into the girl who sat at table 14. I didn't collapse. I stood. Here's what I learned, and I'll leave you with this, because maybe you need to hear it. Healing doesn't mean forgiving. Boundaries aren't selfish, they're how you survive. I helped Tyler, because he was a victim too, just a different kind. But I don't owe my parents a relationship. Tyler is working on forgiveness with them. That's his path. I'm not there. Maybe I'll never be. And that's okay. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been the one at table 14, the one they forgot to toast, the one who had to build everything from nothing while they celebrated someone else, tell me your story in the comments. What was your table 14 moment? The moment you realized nobody was coming to save you, so you had to save yourself. And if you're dealing with family addiction, with boundaries, with the long, exhausting work of healing from people who were supposed to love you, know this. You don't owe anyone your peace. Not even family. Especially not family. Like and subscribe if you believe in breaking cycles. Share this if someone you know needs to hear it. One last question. I don't have the answer. Maybe you do. Should I open my mother's letter? Should I listen to my father's voicemail again? Should I forgive them, not for their sake, but for mine? I don't know. Some days I think yes. Some days I think the door should stay closed forever. But here's what I do know. I'm not the girl at table 14 anymore. I'm not the daughter who was born to watch. I built my own table. I sit at the head of it, and no one will ever make me feel small again. My name is Marin Holloway. I'm 29 years old. And I was never born to watch. I was born to rise. I just had to do it alone.